give them that platform that I can provide through these films, just in the same way that you are doing right now, and doing it through your platform. It's just a different way of creating media and putting it out there in a manner that represents us. And that's what's important.
Welcome to Black and Blue, the podcast that's just for you. We bring solutions to everyday problems. We are here to humanize the badge. By interviewing first responders and discussing their trainings, experiences, and publications. Black and Blue airs weekly at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune in.
And then it's kind of like, what do I do next?
That is a great question, Clea, and it just so happens that the film that you spoke about, Is There Something Going On at Home, that we're going to be releasing at the end of this year, covers that topic. I'm going to presume that most police officers, when they broach this subject, one of the things that you're always going to hear is, well, I can't wait to retire because I'm going to golf, I'm going to fish, I'm going to hunt, and I'm going to do all these hobby type things. And they do that, but then they realize that lasts about 6 months. And I talk to so many guys that I used to work with who tell me all the time that they've lost their sense of purpose. They don't have goals anymore, and they don't know what's next. So I think one of the biggest things that I would always give as advice to people is, before you pull the plug, know what's next. Know exactly what you're going to be doing. Don't think you're going to figure that out later. Because from the experience of talking with a lot of different people around this country on that very topic, what I have certainly seen and found is that it never works out the way you think it's going to. Tell people who are not cops, if you watch this film, what you will learn and gain from it are the answers to a lot of the questions you have. If you see a police officer doing something that you think is inappropriate in a critical incident or use of force situation, then you're going to learn about things like defensive tactics proficiency and the lack of it in this country, in every police agency. You're going to learn about the lack of physical fitness and how that plays into every use of force situation. And perhaps most importantly, you're going to learn about mental health and the issues surrounding use of force decision-making. If you ever wonder why some cops may overreact or underreact, I think the first place you look is their mental health. A simple patrol traffic stop where the officers saw what they thought was stolen property, knew an alarm had just gone off at an antique shop around the corner, put two and two together, and now they're arrested for possession of stolen property. Well, unfortunately, and I'm sure that Las Vegas is no different than where you're from in Pennsylvania and everybody else who's listening, most district attorneys are going to look at that and it's going to be dropped to like an attempt petty larceny if they prosecute it at all. And then the person gets off scot-free. Well, that's what happened to Damon Monroe many times. But Brad Nickel worked for a unit here called the Repeat Offender Program, which we call ROPE. And they just chased career criminals. They literally would do surveillances on people who were being released from the Clark County Detention Center, knowing that probably within 10 minutes, they're going to go commit another crime, right? Wow. Yeah. So Jason Monroe arrived on Brad's desk as already a 19-time ex-felon. By the time he was done with the case, he was a 54-time ex-felon, and he is in prison for life. He will never get out. But yeah, really a crazy case that kind of morphed once they did the search warrant and discovered this treasure trove of stolen property. I want to say Brad's quote in the film, he refers to it as thinking he was walking into Aladdin's cave. So, all the jewels and the expensive antiques and the signed artwork and the electronics, all stolen. These guys had bank accounts, they were well organized, and this was a crew that ran Vegas for years before they were ultimately caught. But the big twist, as you know, of course, is that this guy's in jail, knows he's been had, and then hatches the plan that he's going to hire the Serranos to kill Detective Brad Nickel, the district attorney, Sandra DiGiacomo, and the judge, Michelle Levitt. So on top of all the property crimes, he also was convicted of soliciting murder. So yeah, it's a really interesting story. It's not one that is of violence, but it's one of those things that was caught, fortunately, ahead of time. But I think, one of the big takeaways is ultimately the property crime issue and how violated people feel when somebody has broken into their residence or their business and stolen things from them. I want to give them that platform that I can provide through these films, just in the same way that you are doing right now and doing it through your platform. It's just a different way of creating media and putting it out there in a manner that represents us. And that's what's important. I actually, from 2007 through 2009, headed up our recruitment team at Los Angeles Metro. So I can tell you that even then, for us to get an academy of, say, 75 people, we would need 10,000 people to walk through the door. Why is that? Because that gets whittled down through your psychological testing, your physical testing, your written test, but 80% in background. And I know a lot of standards have been laxed, and that's one of the things that scares me the most. I had commented on LinkedIn a few months back when I had read an article about the head of training for NYPD was going to get rid of the 1.5 mile run because she thinks that, cops don't chase anybody for 1.5 miles. And I commented and said, okay, the reason why we do a 1.5 mile run has nothing to do with the job. You are demonstrating your cardiovascular fitness, which is hugely important, because if you are already an unhealthy person metabolically speaking, imagine what 10 years of this job is going to do to you.
Oh, man.
So that's why you do the test. It has nothing to do with I'm going to jump out of my car and chase somebody, So when you've got opinions like that free flowing, it makes the whole recruitment thing really difficult. Well, I just want to thank you for having me on your show, Clee. It's always a pleasure, and even furthermore, the fact that you took the time to watch those 3 films and have some really good questions tonight. I think these issues are extremely, again, that is always my goal, is to cover the issues, the critical issues that are important to law enforcement that our mainstream media simply overlooks or glosses over or forgets altogether. And supporting these films supports, that idea. And that's what's really important, because otherwise the word never gets out and those perceptions remain, and people will really never have a clear understanding of what police officers go through on a day-to-day basis during their careers, what kind of training it actually takes and what level it takes to get a police officer to be able to have successful outcomes in use of force situations, the physical fitness issue, the mental health issue. These are the types of topics that get me really motivated, and I love to talk about them, and there certainly is no better way than to put it on film.